how the fuck can you, with any good conscience, cut rates into this current environment? I keep saying that I think they're going to hike next. I think that it's just going to get
to be different.
I'm not trying to be different. I'm just saying, like, you see all these wars, okay? Wars are so inflationary. You see every country in the world ramping up their tax base, right? Ramping up their taxes on the populace. That they, while simultaneously adding all of these new spending items, right? All this stuff is very inflationary for the end user. Meanwhile, like, okay, let's be honest, these numbers are so fucking fake and so full of shit. It's crazy. Like, there is no way inflation is anywhere close to the low numbers that they say it is. If you've gone out anywhere and done anything, like, you just know it costs way more than that. And so with inflation, no, I don't think inflation is going down. I think it's ramping up actually right now. So when we start to see that, and I think we are seeing evidence that inflation is like not going down, it's very sticky. And so if all of that is true, what I'm saying, that the numbers are fake, it's higher than it really is, I think most logical people can agree on that. And all this new stuff coming down the pipe is inflationary. Then how the fuck can you, with any good conscience, cut rates into this current environment? Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So I 100% agree with you there.
So as nice as it would be from a real estate perspective to get those cuts, which, I mean, I don't know how deep they're going to cut anyways. What is every investor waiting for? Like 3% or something? And are prices really going to drop? Like, I don't know. I'm just so confused. I keep saying it all the time. I thought we had a crash in February 2022. Like, prices have gone down 20% in major metros. They're still like kind of up and down. Like, what the hell is going on out here? But really, if they cut next, can you imagine the real estate market?
I know.
Right? Like, look at what happened when they paused the first time. It's like the floodgates open. It was like pause equaled cut, right?
Absolutely. And, the scary part is, I mean, when you look at the just basic economics, the purpose of raising rates is to cut that inflation. It's to cut spending. It's to scare people, right? A lot of it is psychological, but we haven't seen that actual effect play out. And right now we've got a government, and the US, is similar, but not nearly as the way we're doing things here. The government is essentially working against the Bank of Canada right now. And the Bank of Canada, right, while I don't know, and you don't know as well, Darryl, I know you're not saying it will be, but you wouldn't be shocked if rates did go up, because really what is supposed to happen, the purpose here is that people feel pain, and that people lose jobs, and that people stop spending, and then inflation comes down. And this is the hard part too, is for folks in society, is that when they think about inflation, they're in their mind thinking, oh, they want to cut inflation so prices will go down. And it's like, no, that's not even what's happening. We just want them to rise less. Yeah, and that slower. Is even just a fundamental misunderstanding by all. Yeah. And we're not seeing that fear in people's, minds. And that's really what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to psychologically, make people worried. And I'm going to stop spending, and I'm going to start saving money, and I'm going to stop putting things on my credit card. And we're not seeing it actually happen. So no. I don't know how this is going to actually, if we do cut, as you mentioned, I mean, typically when you start cutting, that's usually after the economy, you've broken it. The data is trailing. So then they've gone too far. They've paused for long enough. And then the numbers start looking really bad, really fast. And it's because it's trailing data. And we haven't seen it yet. Is it really happening right now? I mean, maybe if we looked into the books and actually took out all the, data from immigration and all of this other stuff going on, and all the government spending and the jobs that are generated from the government, if we do all of that, you might see maybe a different story. But I think until we actually experience that pain, we're not going to see that cut, or at least it wouldn't make sense to make that cut if the goal is to get inflation down.
I think it's less painful to let go of your money these days because it's like a press of a button or it's like a tap of a card. You don't even like let go of anything. Like it used to be that you'd have to give somebody your cash and you'd be like, I don't know if it's really worth giving up
Mm-hmm.
my cash. Like there's only so much left. But now it's just like, buy now, buy now. And you don't even think about any of this
It's
stuff anymore.
it's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
It's a sociological thing right now, right? Like there's a lot of people right now, everyone's working hard. They don't have the, same connections they have with their family. They're not doing the same things that they used to that makes them feel well. And so going out and spending money, is that like dopamine chase, right? And that
Totally.
the money, the access has been there. Credit's never been easier, like, I mean, I know right now with interest rates being higher, it might be harder, to be able to qualify for certain things, but how many times can you get a credit card when you're watching the Blue Jay game or, you're buying something at Shoppers Drug Mart, they're like, hey, just why don't you take a MasterCard with it too? And so I'm not saying this could happen, but I'm definitely not ruling out a deflationary period. Like, I mean, it's not impossible. Like ideally the Bank of Canada just wants disinflation to be able to get us back on track so that we've got a steady growth and so that we're in a healthy environment. And deflation is one of the worst things that they could possibly forecast, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. And I never really thought about construction materials until recently, where I started to see, just how much construction materials had gone up and where that money goes, because labor costs, of course, has gone up. But as the job market changes, we know that labor costs will then, be tampered a little bit. But with like, things like lumber and concrete and, other building materials and all that kind of stuff, a lot of that is just because of the excess demand. Right. And then eventually those type of resources, if they start to feel the pressure where they're not able to be able to, output what they're expecting to every single year, there's going to be some deflationary pressures on those type of things, which could lead to, because that's the storyline, right? So one of the things I want to talk to you about, Kyle, is about new housing starts, and all the new government programs. We're actually starting to see less houses being built now. The whole goal was we're going to build more and we got more homes faster and all these programs. And we're literally starting to see a slowdown on new homes being built. So what are you seeing as far as your circles, your businesses, your investor friends? Is anybody building? Is this even something that's possible right now?
Yeah, as you mentioned, like, we're seeing it in the numbers that it's slowing. And I mean, if we zoom out far enough and we look at all of what we've just discussed so far, it doesn't make sense to have more builds if we're trying to keep rates higher to stamp out inflation. So, we have two competing scenarios going on. So the government's saying we want growth, but the Bank of Canada is saying we need to stop growth. And right now, again, we're not having it's basically a tug of war and nothing's happening. It's like the longest tug of war ever. And you're just seeing this rope kind of hanging out in the middle and nobody wants to take action, because if I'm a developer, I'm not putting a shovel in the ground, right? With all this uncertainty, I don't know if rates are going to stay higher. I don't know if they are going to go up. And the interesting part is, I think we've been so conditioned. If we think about this, we have really short-term memories, like we use availability bias, convenience bias all the time as humans. And you think about what happened during that pandemic and the government swooped in and saved us all, or I say saved us all, didn't save everybody, but they came in and everyone was like, wow, like that's amazing. That probably should have been, for most people, I would say for folks around our age, I would say is probably like, that should be the hardest time in our life that we experienced. But for a lot of people, it wasn't that hard, right? So when you think about it, like that was a really hard time for Canada, but also the world. And yet I don't think very many people felt like the pain of that, right? Some people did lose jobs. Some people, some things did happen. So the effect's going to be different for different people. But when we think about it as a whole, that was like a really hard thing and a really, we'll call it black swan event. And it didn't really black swan. Like even the markets, had a quick dip and then like just back right on track. And
there's
to undo that,
there's not too many problems that you can't throw, $80 billion at that won't fix itself, at least in the short term.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our clips channel. Why don't you go and check out some more clips? We got lots of other good content somewhere over here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Boom.
That was good.
That was good. I like that. That was good.